What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to this video slash podcast all around self-love, self-care, self-nourishment, self-nurturing. The reason being is because I personally have been moving through some things lately. And as always, my lessons are your lessons are mine. So I wanted to touch on this topic of self-love. I'm also seeing it widely spread across the internet, this very old way of thinking, conditioning, programming, where there's women in the online space that are telling other women that self-care is selfish. You must put your kids' needs before your own. You must put your lover's needs before your own. Let's start there, because despite everything we have been taught, okay, about self-love, self-care, self-nourishment, is that it is selfish. When in actual fact, I really want to bring to you today a new perspective on this, right? Because I want to share something. When I first became a mum and I held this core strong belief around, it's selfish to take care of myself. I can't have nice things. I can't do nice things. I can't go for a walk alone. I can't shower alone. I can't do these. And do you know what? It actually does come down to basic human needs as well. We all have different needs. We all have different ways that we like getting our needs met. And a lot of the time we are actually able to give this to ourselves. So what starts to happen is, because we hold on to this conditioning, or someone somewhere along the line told us you're selfish for doing things that make you feel good. You're selfish for going for a walk by yourself, or getting your hair and your nails done, or whatever the case may be, whatever makes you feel good. And somebody made you believe that that was in fact selfish, and you're a selfish person for taking care of you. So this was my belief. And when I first became a mum, I was giving, and I'm going to openly say this too, I'm also an empath, which means that I give and I want to give, and giving to me feels really fucking good. When I give to other people, when I give, whether it's like give myself or my time and my energy, or I'm teaching and educating in the online space, or I'm running courses online, or I'm doing whatever to give back to the community, this can leave me feeling very, very, very drained, because one, I'm not taking the time to meet my own needs, and I don't feel this equal exchange because I'm giving. And like I said, I love to give, but when we're not open to receiving or gifting ourselves this receivership, and really nurturing ourselves, then it's not going to be at all sustainable and at all possible for us to keep showing up for other people if we're not even showing up for ourselves. Let me repeat that. It is not possible for us to show up for other people if we are not first showing up for ourselves. This has been a theme of mine for the last few months, because I have been dealing with some things in regards to my health and this intense burnout. And it's for a range of different reasons. And I don't really enjoy reaffirming it, but just for the purpose of sharing my story and what I've been moving through, in hopes that it also helps you move through whatever it is that you are shifting through and moving through, is that this is something that I manifested. How? You might be thinking, how? How did you fucking manifest burnout? What are you talking about? Let me grab my tea. What I am talking about is that I fell back into this pattern of giving my power away. Giving to everyone else, catering to everyone else's needs. Not that this is wrong. So just let me pin that there. It is not wrong to give to others, okay? But what is, I don't want to say wrong, but what is unsustainable about that is when you give to others at the expense of yourself. And because society or people around you have taught you that putting your needs first is selfish. But hear me out. If you don't put your needs first, you are literally trying to pour from an empty cup. So I challenge those of you that think that is selfish to put yourself first, I challenge you, try this. Go and pick up a cup that has no liquid in it. What's going to come out of it when you tip it upside down? It seems silly. It might seem like a silly analogy, but this is literally what it is for us as energetic beings, okay? And as beings that respond to our environment, very much so as well. If you go and you pick up an empty cup and you turn it upside down, what's coming out of it? Fuck all. Fuck all. Nothing. Nothing's coming out. Okay, so then imagine this. Your son, your daughter, however many kids you have, thirsty as fuck. And you're like, there's no water in here. I want to give, but I got fucking nothing. I've got fucking nothing in my cup. My cup is not full. Versus, you go, you fill your own cup. You fill it right to the brim. Even have it overflowing, if you will. Take a bloody sip. Your thirst is met, right? That need, done skis. But you've still got heaps left in your cup. You're like, great, excellent. Then your kids or whoever comes to you thirsty. Also desires your time, your energy, your nurturing, your support. Now, because your cup is full and you've tended to your own goddamn needs, then, and only then, can you now pour from your cup because you have something in it to give to other people. So here's the thing. The more you fill your own cup, the more capacity you in fact have to give to others. But it's a balance and it's a dance and it's tending to your needs so that you can better tend to the needs of your kids, to your lover, your intimate relationships, your friendships, all the pieces of the pie, your job, right? But if you are at max capacity and you have nothing left to give, how are you going to be the best version of you, and how are you going to better serve others when you have nothing to give them? And the reason you have nothing to give them is because you're in a state of self-neglect. You're in a state of believing that it's selfish to take care of you and that you have to give yourself over and give your power away time and time and time again, to make you a selfless human. When in actual fact, being selfish is the act of being selfless. Because just like you cannot possibly, and I know this to be true, you cannot possibly love another human being, intimate relationships, other human beings in general, if you do not first love yourself. If you do not have a deep love for the person that you are, it is not possible for you to, one, understand what unconditional love really is, and two, if you do not give love to yourself, how then are you going to give that to another human being? Because you haven't yet understood that on a deep soul level. You picking up what I'm putting down? So the next time you hear someone say, oh, that person's just so selfish, she gets her nails done all the time, she does things that make her feel good, like, oh, who even just has time for that? Like, whatever these projections are from other human beings, that's theirs. That's not yours. And the only way that you can possibly thrive in your life and optimize how much you're giving yourself and optimize how much you're giving others is to take care of you. You are number one. My kids are fucking high up there on the scale of nurturing and humans to look after. I'm trying to keep 2 tiny humans alive. But in order to do that, so that I've got some form of sanity for a start, means that I have to, 1, regulate my nervous system. I have to fill my cup. I have to take time for me to breathe, to nurture my inner child, my adult self. There's so many moving parts and pieces to self-care and self-love, and there's so many ways that we can give this to ourselves. But it has to start with us. It has to. There's no other way than it to start with us. And I will share that phrase or statement used to trigger the shit out of me. And maybe it's triggering you at this moment. But what I did not realize at the time was my inability to face my own challenges, to face my own shadows, to face those deeper parts of myself that were like, that's not true. It's up to everyone else, external to me, to make me feel this way, to meet my needs, to, you know, whether it's to pleasure me, to comfort me, to whatever your needs are that you're needing met in the moment are for you to meet first. And it's not wrong to outsource. It's not wrong to receive pleasure from someone else. It's not wrong to be receptive and receive these things equally as much as you give them. But it's important, and it's actually imperative that you understand that reaching outside of ourselves before we look within ourselves is how we as humans tend to escape or try and escape feeling what is there arising for us. And it's easier to, say, for example, blame someone else or look for someone else external to us to fulfill those needs or to fill a certain void, because it's so hard to face that. So let's talk about for a second then how we can meet these needs, okay? A few things that I do that I would suggest. Breath and meditation, that is my go-to. Journaling, go-to every single day. You don't have to allocate an hour or two. If you have that time, I would recommend that you do. But if you're a busy mom or you're a parent or you've just got a lot on, don't make that an excuse. Do what you have with the time. Do what you can with the time you have available to you. Okay, which means if you can get up an hour earlier in the morning and have that hour to journal, to meditate, to breathe. Each of these things can be done for 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes, it's all you need. That's all it actually takes for you to just fill your cup. Not only is it doing that, it's setting the intention and the mood, the energy for your entire day. And that's on you. Nobody else can do that for you. Nobody else can do that for you. But for me, it is so important to raise my frequency the second that I open my eyes, set the tone of my day, regulate my nervous system so that then no matter what happens in this external world, things will affect me, but that's in fact how I am choosing in each moment to respond to that. But by nourishing myself and giving myself these self-care practices and this time for me means that I have more capacity to be a great mum. I have more patience for my boys because I've sat in presence with myself, right? Versus, and there are days where I don't do my practices and the day ends up being absolutely chaotic, super frantic. It's likely I'm rushing out the door to get to where I need to be, so unregulated, so uncentered, so ungrounded, snapping, I'm irritable. I just have nothing in the tank. And that's from the moment that I wake up. So if I take the time and we take the time out of our day to start our day in that way, trust me when I say there is a lot less that is going to bother you. Nothing will bother you. Barely anything will bother you. And your ability to then choose in each moment to go, am I going to entertain that? No, because I took time for myself today. I filled my own cup. I don't need to entertain these things. And self-love is what offers that. And it's in many forms. It can be, like I said, the meditation, the breath work, the journaling, shaking, dancing around your house. Like that's an act of self-love. Another act of self-love is to eye gaze with yourself in the mirror, right? Touch your body, give yourself compliments, Self-pleasure, that's another one. That's another form of self-love. And a lot of us women have also been taught to outsource our pleasure. We rely on our partner to gift us that. But I have a question. What would your life look and feel like if you in fact gifted this pleasure to yourself first? If you in fact turned yourself on first? It's not to say that you're not open and receptive to receiving pleasure from your lover at all. But so much will shift when you know and you understand and you have this realization of everything I seek outside of me, I can give to myself. It's already within me. Let me say that again. Everything I seek outside of me is already there within me. So we can seek guidance. We can seek help from other people that have been in similar situations to us. And as a mentor, as a guide, this is what I do. But I, as a mentor and a guide, cannot give you the answers to your questions. Because even if we have had similar experiences, each individual's perception of that experience, the way that we respond, the way that the emotions stored in our body is so different. So I can assist you in guiding you back to yourself, but that's exactly the process, is back to yourself. And this is where we have to take radical acceptance of the fact that our shit is ours to own. We want a different life. Guess who's in charge of that? We are. We want to cultivate more self-love. Guess who's going to do that? Us. It's up to nobody else, no coach, no mentor, no lover, no one, no friend. People will be there in your circle to support you and hold you in all that you are moving through. But we ultimately, that's why I say it starts with us. It starts with us every single time. And every single time we notice that we're falling back into this pattern of outsourcing or reaching external to us for validation, given we're human, we're going to do it. We all do it. It's not wrong to seek validation, but it's noticing and having the awareness around oh, okay. For example, I'm seeking pleasure from my lover. I'm really trying to get him to fill this void or to fulfill this need. So then ask yourself, how can I fulfill this first? Okay, and you can have open, if you're in a conscious relationship, you can have open conversations, open dialogue like this and say, hey, I've noticed that I'm trying to get you to fulfill this need. If you've then gone back within yourself, right, and sat with yourself, and then you find out, okay, potentially it's just little you seeking reassurance. Okay, and I'll share this. This is something I often do, and I realized this recently. Is I, as a trauma response, I say sorry so much, or I constantly ask my man, are you okay? Are you okay? That's little me going, I need the reassurance. I need to know that you still love me. I need to know that you're still here and you're supporting me. There's that element of codependency, but also that deep need to just want to be loved. Right? So I recognize this within myself. And this is what the practice of self-love brings forth. Okay, the awareness, the clarity, the insight, for me to even recognize that that's something that I do is it. It is it. The second that we start to come back to ourselves and we're like, holy fuck, that is why I do that. Wow. And then there's a layer to explore there because it's arising. And I just want to also invite you, this is coming in really strong right now, is that, because I've also done this. We'll come back to what I was just saying. This just popped in. Be mindful as well around constantly digging for things to heal. Don't do that. I have done that. I learned the hard fucking way. I thought it was now, I don't know, I got so caught up and addicted, right, essentially, to the healing process that I was like, what now? Okay, what can I heal now? What can I find now? What else needs work? And you become this, your own project, right? Which is unhealthy. It's unhealthy in and of itself. And I just want to invite you then to, if you notice that you're doing that and you're like in a moment of joy, for example, and you're happy and you're feeling these elevated emotions. This may be something that is very foreign to you in your body. This is very foreign to me in my body because I've spent a majority of my life in a fight or flight response, okay? So whenever I now experience like liberation and joy and like things are flowing, I'm like, something's not right. Like my body rejects that. So then what I go and do as a form of self-sabotage is I go and I try and find and attach myself to these stories so that I can pretty much manifest it into my reality that like something's going to fuck up, and then I can turn around and be like, I knew that was going to happen. Okay? So just notice if that's something that you're doing and only feel what is there when it comes up. Don't go looking for it, because as you become more in tune and you really embark on these self-care practices and these self-love experiences and self-healing, these things naturally are going to come to the surface, and you just become more aware that they're there. And there's ways of and you don't have to, there's not always an answer either. You don't have to attach the stories. You don't have to attach, like sometimes it's merely just a sensation that's moving through the body that wants to be felt. It's energy. It's all energy. There may be memories associated with it, but it's just like, feel me. Just feel this sensation. What's here for you? Tightness in the chest. What the fuck? Okay, let me feel this. Let me breathe into it. Let me just like move my body and release some tension. So that's just a really important note to make as well. But coming back to what I was saying before about the inner child, this is some big work. The inner child stuff, inner teen stuff, moving through some of that at the moment. And also the shadow aspects of ourselves. We don't want to reject any of these things. These are all part of us. But what becomes really fucking cool and is really fucking powerful is when we strengthen this ability muscle to go, I noticed that. That's a pattern. I do that. And so for me, realizing this recently, and the way, and like I say this often, and my man is so great. He's just like, yeah, like I'm good. Why do you keep asking? I'm like, true, why do I keep asking? And then something actually was presented to me. I think it was like a Instagram reel or something the holistic therapist did. I love her. And I was like, wow, this is literally what I do. And I sent it to my man, and she was just so great at unpacking and explaining it. And I was like, that's what that is. So then I had to go and then have a chat essentially to this little version of me and be like, hey, babe, what's this about? Like, I got you. What is it that you need from me? What underlying needs are not being met right now? And so she did. She came back with, it's the reassurance. I just crave the reassurance. Like, just let me know that I'm loved. Let me know that I'm loved. I'm supported, and I'm not, trying to prove myself to get someone's love and affection. And as a child growing up in such dysfunctional, toxic environment, that constant walking on eggshells, like, oh, am I still in trouble? Or have I put a foot wrong and I don't know about it? And like that constant need to be like, are you okay? Have I upset you? Have I done anything wrong? And so that was a very similar feeling. So if I can sort of sense that my man's energy is off, which a lot of the time he's just dog tired, he works so hard, right? But if I'm not feeling that need met, or he's not being affectionate towards me, or there's not much physical touch, or, he's not telling me he loves me every fucking 2 seconds, okay? That's a codependency, but that's also a deep need of my inner child to be told that she's loved, to be reassured that, hey, we're okay, we're safe, we're loved, we're supported. So I really want to touch on that because the inner child, the element of the inner child work is so important when it comes to reparenting ourselves, self-love as a whole, really acknowledging these parts of us and not going like, that's not something that I do. Because I used to get really defensive when things like this were brought to my attention. Like there was a lot of shame associated with the fact that like I would say sorry all the time, or I wouldn't say sorry at all, or like all these unconscious patterns that were formed as a coping mechanism, as a defense mechanism, as a way of protecting oneself. And each of us have different ways in which we do this. But just know that the more we go within and the more we work with ourselves and we tap into this, we are able to shine a light on these parts and then really embrace these parts rather than like suppressing them even further and shunning them and dismissing them. Like that's literally what's been done to us in the past, right? Potentially, if your story is similar to mine or you're resonating with this right now, a lot of us have been shunned, suppressed. You're to be seen, not heard. You know, no, don't feel that. Don't feel this. Stop being dramatic. You're too much, blah, 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 blah. So then we're just slowly over time diluting parts of ourselves. And then when these parts of ourselves arise, we shame them even more and we dismiss them even more because we're like, fuck, no, that's not okay. I'm not allowed to feel that. I'm not allowed to be this expressive. I'm not allowed to, like, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And often it's other people's projections, it's things that we've absorbed within our childhood, within our external environments, how we've learnt to perceive the world around us. So through the act of self-love, through working with different energies and through working with the breath, like the breath itself is our life force energy, so much clarity will come from just connecting with your breath. No word of a lie. Right? Because what it's allowing us to do, the brain, the mind, the heart, directly linked, but it's also very powerful. The mind is so incredibly powerful. And when we breathe, when we meditate, we're slowing down those brain waves, which enables us then to access the subconscious programming, the subconscious mind, where all of these stories, all of these beliefs, all of these things are stored back there, right? So then when we gift ourselves presence, time, consciousness, awareness, this is where our soul then evolves and things really start to happen for us because we're peeling back the layers. And as the layers peel back, we're no longer holding ourselves back. We're no longer held in this old belief system. We're no longer held or trapped in our emotions from the past, right? And if you can just envision for a moment, like you are literally in the healing process, and this happens time and time and time again, but it's as if you are in a cocoon, as if you were about to become a butterfly. And like you just think about that slowly cracking open. And the thing is, if that cracks open too soon, or you're trying to remove roots or the layers of the cocoon too soon, it's likely you're not going to come out a butterfly with wings on the other side, right? You have to allow the time in your cocoon to go within, to be with yourself, to face everything that is hard to face in there in order to come out of the freaking cocoon and come out the other side with beautiful colors and beautiful wings and the ability to freaking fly. When all you could do before was crawl on a few leaves and be pretty much on the ground the entire time, looking up, thinking, wow, it'd be amazing to have that experience, right? And it was just a matter of time. And if we just gifted that to ourselves more often and sat in presence with ourselves and started to become aware of the way that we operate and give this self-love, give this self-reassurance, this self-nourishment, we can better understand that in no way, shape, or form is this act selfish. Well, it is selfish, but not in the way that we've been taught, right? It's okay to be selfish, more like it. It's okay to put your fucking needs first. It's important that you put your needs first. And your cup is full so that you have more to give then and pour to others, into others. But you have to pour into yourself first. There is no other way than to go first. I haven't had my tea. I'm almost done. We're coming to that. I was just totally riffing on this topic today because it was kind of grinding my gears the more I saw these other women online that were just like, had quite a following as well. And I'm just thinking, a lot of this is just what I see with that is a lot of surface level conversation. Potentially they don't understand the depths of feminine beings, of multifaceted humans, of energetic beings. They don't understand energy. They don't understand what it's like to be in a conscious relationship or, you know, but one I saw recently was that the kids come first. Women these days are all about me, me, me. And I just thought, and this was coming from a person that wasn't a mum, didn't have kids, was not even in a relationship. And if there's one thing that I have learned along my journey and from witnessing others on their journey is we should not ever speak to things, to topics or experiences that we ourselves have not lived. Because here's the thing with that. Life is qualifying us when we have a challenging time and we have a really confronting experience, or we have gone through things that not many other people may have gone through, but people definitely have, right? Because we're never alone. But to speak into something that you've never experienced, because you cannot possibly have that perspective. You can sympathize, you can be empathetic, you can have compassion for that person's experience for sure. Like you can deeply hold them in that without knowing what it's like. But I do not believe that anyone should speak into a situation, especially a trauma-based situation, when they have not lived it themselves. You cannot give advice, for example, on being in a domestic violent relationship like I have experienced, okay, if you have not been in one. Because a lot of people's perspective outside of having an experience like that will be like, I don't get it. Why wouldn't you just leave? Why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do that? It's all well and good to have opinions, which each of us are entitled to. But it's a very linear way, because there's always more. There's always more that you don't see. There's always more under the surface, right? So this is why I'm also massive on we cannot, where's the words? We cannot control how people outside of us are going to receive us. We can also not control their opinions of us. We can also not control what they talk about. Okay, because everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but my belief is that life will qualify us with the life experience. And all the wisdom that is gained from that is then how we learn from each other, is then what we pass on to other people to guide them and hold them through a very similar situation. Because you can only hold someone as deep as you've been. And that's the absolute truth. And in today's society, everything is on the surface. It's hard to go to the depths, it really is. But it's so fucking beautiful. It's so fucking beautiful to go there, to honor that, to realize what's beneath the surface, because there is so much more than just what's on the surface. There is so much more, than these clickbaity surface level conversation videos that are telling you that it's self-care is selfish. It's actually detrimental to people's health and well-being to be expressing things like that, to be making somebody feel that them putting their needs and meeting their own personal human needs first. Like, let's take a look at having a shower if you're a mum, brushing your teeth, going to the toilet. Those are personal human needs. Eating food, which actually a lot of mums sacrifice in a day, because we do put our babies first. And if our babies are sick or it's very circumstantial, not all the time are you going to be able to meet your own needs. But if you're aware of it and you can continuously come back to your center, realign, refocus, come back to you, come back to your heart. Because when you do, you start to notice the shifts, because when you're not in alignment, when you're not centered and you're not grounded and you're not caring for yourself, the entire dynamic, or at least I know for myself, in my family shifts. Whatever I'm internalizing, my kids reflect, my partner reflects. It's energy. You're co-regulating with those that you live with those around you, with those closest to you. So if I'm internalizing resentment because I haven't had time to shower by myself, and then my man comes home and he jumps in the shower by himself, then I feel this overwhelming resentment, which then I can express. But I know that that's because I haven't taken the time in that particular day to put myself first, to fill my own cup, to journal, to meditate, to breathe for 5 goddamn minutes while my kids play around me. That's all it takes. So when we course correct over and over and over again, or when we realize these patterns and go, I notice a shift, because when I meditate, on the days that I meditate, my God, my day runs smoothly. And on the days that I don't, it is utter chaos. And my kids then are also co-regulated with me. So they're picking up my energy. So then they're chaotic. And then I'm more irritable because they're chaotic. But all that they're doing is matching the way I feel inside. Right? And then they're just reflecting back to me, well, hey, the reason you're irritated right now and you're getting shitty at the way we're running around or we're behaving or we're throwing toys all over the house is because you're unregulated. As a mom, as a woman, as an individual, as a parent, you are unregulated, which dysregulation, whatever's happening internally is reflected externally. So that's another really important thing to understand. And this is why it is absolute key and the absolute answer in which self-care is so important. I'm losing my words now because I'm going to close it out right here as well. So to finish, I want to reiterate the fact that it starts with you. Yes, it's easy to blame. It's so much easier to blame. I know, I get it. But it starts with you. And when you can take radical responsibility for yourself, your life, your feelings, your nervous system, your health, your well-being, it's the ripple effect. Everything around you shifts. And once you realize this, you're like, oh my God, why was I not doing this before? Or you may fall off the bandwagon for a little bit. And then you're like, wow, I feel like actual shit. I need to recenter. I need to reground. And it doesn't have to be hard. Like I said, you can go outside and have your morning coffee with your bare feet on the earth. You can do a 5 to 10 minute breath work in the morning or through the course of the day, right? It doesn't have to be anything remotely complicated. Go for a walk. Go out in nature. Go to the beach. Go watch a sunrise. Do something that is going to fill your cup, and it's something that you enjoy. Because I can give these suggestions and I know that they make a world of friggin' difference, but ultimately it's up to you what you choose, how you present self-love to yourself, how you're going to nourish yourself, how you're going to nurture yourself in each and every moment through the course of your day. Okay, my loves, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a big one. I had a lot alive in me around this theme of self-love. I think this is the absolute key to self-nourishment and nurturing our soul. So definitely do more of it. Take time for you. It's not selfish, despite what anyone says. Show up for yourself first and watch your entire life shift. Watch your kids' behavior change. Watch the love that your partner can exchange with you change. Everything in your life is going to shift when you start taking care of you. Big love.